45.
All right. Beloved, this is the Culture and Camaraderie podcast, the most thought-provoking, introspective, industrious, creative discussion with my guy Tiberius. If you're hearing us with crystal clear audio clarity, hit up lax error for all of you aren't really using their creative thought. It's like, if I tell you something, like live instrumentation, that was a 2-year-old thought, right? And it was like live instrumentation because now when you see all of these tiny desks and all of these people talking about live instrumentation, it's like, oh, so this is going to be a thing. Like, people using instruments for their music is a thing now. Like, when you see like when it was like new and fresh, when I don't know why instruments are new and fresh, but when Kendrick was doing it in that performance of his Untitled Unmastered piece, it was like it was like and he was in that prison garbs and like, yeah, like that.
That was hard. That was the first. Think about how rudimentary that was compared to how he sort of evolved it into Damn. Yeah. Like what Damn became because of that. That's crazy.
And that's like it's like a real. That's an idea. That's a real train of thought. That's a real. I'm doing this because of this, and then 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 this. And it all started with the idea of live instrumentation. But when people, like, if someone tells you, I don't know what people tell you, to be fair. I know what I tell you. I say you should sync on your own production, because I know that because I know what that's gonna lead to, and I know the confidence that's gonna entail from that. And when I said live instrumentation before, that's also another confidence. That's a different type of confidence in your own playing skills, in whatever you decide to hear sonically, right? And when you now marry those two, like me, obviously I started with words, so I'm a wordsmith, where it's like I know how to just put words together, like make them look pretty, right? But when it comes down to the performance of words, that's totally different. That's a different type of confidence. And when you now marry the confidence of being able to write with being able to perform that writing, and then marrying that with instrumentation, and you string all of these things together, you now start creating a sound. And when you like start picking your own instruments, you're able to discover a new level of who you are as a person. But that's a concept. So now that's the only way that I know how to think. So I'm only able to like really try concepts. I don't know how to kind of just say something and it's like it doesn't have like a real thorough thought behind it anymore. Like, not saying that I've never done that or I might never do that again, but it's like it has to be a concept. It has to be a big idea. Like when I write jokes on Twitter, it's like a big idea. It's like like I really like a lot of my comedy that is like, it doesn't, obviously when it comes from me, it doesn't look like comedy. But for me, it's like this whole scheme.
Would you ever do stand up?
Yeah, like it's this whole scheme. Like I really like this idea of schemes in comedy, right? Like schemes is another rhyming thing, but it's like when you put it in comedy, it's like
it's hard.
Yes, it's a different concept of putting words together.
Have you seen who's great at that? Have you seen Andrew? You've seen Andrew Schultz. You haven't seen his stand up though, have you?
I have, yeah.
Oh, you've seen it now. That guy's good, man.
Yeah,
he's
like
very good.
What was the latest one that he done?
He done a special impromptu.
Yeah.
Crowd work.
Yeah.
Purely crowd work.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Bro, that guy is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's just great. Like it was sort of, it's so funny because like now I'm working in like comedy on the digital side.
Yeah.
Like with work, and it's so interesting because I've never really liked British comedians, so to speak. It's hard, and I was putting my finger as to why it was.
Yeah.
And when I say I don't like them, it's just I just haven't like resonated with them.
Yeah.
So to speak, and I think it's because.
Have you seen Mo Gilligan's one then?
Mo Gilligan, okay, yeah. It's bad to say British comedian because there is British comedians that I can f with, like
Yeah.
more modern and recent, I'd say.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I see a lot of the people who are okay, you got Mo Gilligan, who you got
I don't know anybody else. Okay.
but that's what I'm saying. He's like an anomaly.
Yeah.
America, you've got more people.
Yeah.
Look, here's my gripe with it. UK comedians, the bigger ones,
Yeah.
are all fairly like a bit too like nerdy. There's something about them that's like, it's too self-deprecating, like because of how nerdy they are. I don't know, there's something there. They don't really, they stay too much on, I feel like they stay too much on a safer side of comedy, you know what I mean, where they'll go into sort of jokes about themselves. Jokes about themselves.
Like, is Ricky, like, he, like,
Ricky Gervais is good, but I don't know,
he's a great comedy writer. But like, when I think about what I remember from his stand-up, because like I remember there was a phase where I would just like listen to any stand-up that was from a comedian that I knew, and any special, I should say, from any comedian that I knew, and I think his stand-up is part self-deprecating, but he's also got that character where like he's kind of a big nerd and he's like all of these other things, and he's not fully with it. Like, and he doesn't know that he's not famous, and he's obviously got that movie about him as well.
No, he's a good writer, and I actually like him. I think he's kind of cool. I think he's got an interesting perspective. There's some, I'm not saying everyone, I'm just talking about the majority. Yeah. Like, who I resonated with more.
Yeah, like
just
me,
because of the way they approach comedy. It's not even the writing per se. It's more their approach, the way they carry themselves, like the specific topics they talk about. It's not even a skill level thing. I don't think comedians in the UK are necessarily worse than American comedians. It's more just who I've resonated with.
Yeah, like I only really mess with the best people, to be honest with you. Like, I've come to a space where it's like, if you're not part of the best, or who I consider the best, then I'm not listening to your stuff.
Who would you consider the best at the moment then?
Like well, you would have to say like Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy's doing stand-up again.
Yeah.
But do you know what? Because
I still remember Raw to this day, and Raw and Delirious. So like, I remember when I watched them when I was 16.
I remember when my dad showed me that. Me 15. And him dying on the sofa,
like yeah, I watched that on my ones. I even remember Pootie Tang. Like, there was a white rat that wrote on Pootie Tang, the one that was wanking in front of women. What's his name again?
Louis C.K.
Yeah, that's the one.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I know he's been through some culture, and there was a recorded special. I have to send it to you. He done a set. It was like an hour-long set. It was someone had recorded it. Oh wow. And to see the way that guy has handled this whole situation, the way not only has he confronted it and unveiled his whole experience with it, he left no holds barred, mate. No holds barred in this special. He was just going. He was moving exactly. It almost felt like he was more free. Yeah. Because he even said it in his area. He was like, "Look, my life's already over. I'm just gonna say whatever it is I'm gonna say." And there's something I got to respect about that. Like, that alone showed how great that guy is. Like, how top tier he is.
Yeah,
like in terms of his skill, in terms of his his skill set.
To be fair, you're never gonna be able to say that Louis C.K. or Bill Burr or like any of these other comedians are just like rubbish. Like obviously there's this thing that I say where it's like, there comes a point in an artist's life where none of the things that they can do is just shit. Like, it's just whatever they release isn't bad. It's just probably not to the level that you're used to or something. Yeah. So there's just a level of, there's just an upper echelon type deal with like just certain people, and I'm cool with that. Like, I remember before this came out, he had a special, and I watched that special, and that special was funny, where he was talking about his daughter and his son and all of that type stuff. And like Kevin Hart's recent one, even though it's not one of my favorite Kevin Hart ones, it's like it's still funny, it's like a high, like just the production, the way it was switching cameras, all of that stuff. And I think it was directed by him, and all of these type of things. It's like it was a real production. Like, you know, he cared about the production and the way that it was shot, and like, you know, that idea from there is gonna go to someone else. And like the way that Alex does Andrew Schultz's ones, it's like the way he cuts and edits that, and like, well, and this is what I'm thinking about with my documentary now. It's like the way I'm gonna edit it and how I'm gonna pose it, and like the way that I'm gonna tell the story of like just the things that I've been through and stuff like that. It's like all of that has to come through your mind and be able to, you have to see it, and you have to know about it, and you have to care about it, and that has to lead to deeper ideas, or it comes from a deeper place of your ideas. And the way it's just all part of the way that we're talking about artists care about things. Like, we just care about things in a different way. And now there's this part of artistry from our generation, at least, where it's like you have to care about the production is literally part of whatever you're doing. You can make a drawing today, and if it doesn't have the right lighting, the right filters, the way, like, if it's not cropped correctly, if it's not level, you're probably like, you would get less likes today if you released it as just as a normal like if it was a better picture. So you have to make sure the picture is amazing, I think, when you present it to people. And this is the part.
Well, I think it. I guess I actually know. I was gonna say it depends on what it is that you're doing.
Like, but there's this level of understanding.
But I get what you mean.
Know where if you release a drawing today, it's probably gonna get 50 likes or something, and these number of my friends are gonna share it, and like, you kind of have this roundabout filter of understanding in it, and that's just that's basic with production. It's like a couple steps after that. It's like, okay, so what will people really like? Okay, what would people like to see more from me? And all of those filters, it's like the 30-day beat challenge. It's like, okay, this person likes this type of sound, and this person likes that type of sound, and I do this, and it garners this response, and when I do that, it garners that response, and all of that put together gives you this sort of figure, and you really gauge what the landscape is if you release something. And that level of understanding is production. And we all have to have something in our minds where it's like, I have to release this thing in a certain type of way. Like, I release my...
It all compounds, isn't it, though?
Yeah, I release my book in a certain type of way, and like, I'm going to have to go to radio stations, and I'm going to have to talk about it with other people on whatever podcast, and I have to know exactly which podcast to go on, and like, go to wherever that conversation is, and move to...
So, but yeah, the what's interesting, because how the little bits compound, because it's like, do you know when people are like, you got to think big, you got to you know, and you've got to take it one step at a time. It's a mixture of both, isn't it? It's like there's the big thing that you eventually want. Like, you can't even really think about that. That's such in the background. It's in the background. That's the background of how you operate your life in. But the way you move is at the pace in which you need to do things. Like, you've got to give yourself enough time to bring something to the standard of the, and it's like, it's so easy to just get caught up in the mundanity of things that you shouldn't even be doing. That's why you've really got to work on your own time, because you can see all these things that you should or shouldn't be doing, but there is a large part of it where you've got to just experiment on things, man. You have to find the right knowledge, the trustworthy knowledge, but you also have to experiment on things, because no matter what anyone tells you, you're living your own life. So you need to figure out how these things work for you.
Yeah,
so you need to experiment
with things. That was part
of
what I was saying before. It's like, when people like say what you should be doing, it's like, they're not gonna live out that action.
The outcome, yeah.
Like, that outcome is gonna be your outcome. They're not gonna say anything about that. Okay, like, you do what they say, and then now you come back to them and you ask them,
why didn't it work?
Yeah, or even, what do I do next?
Yeah,
and they've got no clue, and then now they're guessing. So it really wasn't.
It's not how you should
plan.
operate.
It was part of just a thought that's probably like it came and
That's
went.
what you should do, yeah.
Like it was fly by night. That's what you call it. Innit?
That's why you can't really even operate from a place of results when you see someone's results.
What's that?
If you
What
get
do
what I mean, like you're trying to do things based on a result you've seen, and you're motivated by someone else's results. If you get what I'm saying, like the things that they've got, the things that they earn, the things that they're allowed to say, their status, all these good and shiny and brilliant things. Like you operating from a place of that. Some people, I can't say all people, because some people, that really does get them to get moving. But more time, you're not really fulfilled by that stuff. Like and even
fair, I'm kind of motivated by the result, but it's like I don't know what that result looks like in its entirety. It's like changing or evolving the discussion is a result for me, but it's not.
But you're not fulfilled by the result. You're not fulfilled by the result. You're fulfilled by the process.
Yeah, like the making. Like I love the making. I love the production. I love being able to give something to people and having them feel a certain type of way, whether that's positive or negative, whether that's action or inaction. It's like it's part of my artistry. It's like it's the thing that I care about most is feeling. So there's no money attached to that. There's no money attached to feeling. The only thing that I can show people is a process, and obviously that process comes with coin. You feel me? You're gonna have to pay for that process. Anyway, typical productions.
Yeah, but
yeah, you know what I mean. It's like you're right. It's like you can't really be motivated by the results, because it's like you ask.
They come and go, and you may not want that by the time you get there. Like,
exactly.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It's the time when you feel best really is when you're just doing something, because even if you're motivated by the result, and that's where you got to look at that.
I wasn't even motivated by this. I swear to God.
That's it. But it was the fact that it was the fact you done it. It was the doing of it that it was like you could say I done it, and because when you focus on the process, the fact alone that you've done it is fulfilling. Is fulfilling, and it's so funny because I realize now a lot of the anxieties I get when I'm doing certain things that I enjoy doing, I've actually built a guilt in my head sometimes about doing certain things. Huh? Wow. You see what he's trying? He's been trying to do this to me ever since I've known him. Right? He's been trying to do this to me ever since I've known this guy.
No, if we turn into a flagrant podcast, I wouldn't be friggin' opposed to that. I'm with all of the shits, bro.
But it's
what did you say?
It's mad.
Yeah,
it's mad. Because
something about.
It's when I'm It's when I'm making things and making things that I enjoy. There's this slight sense of guilt that's quite disruptive for me.
Be your base. Be your base.
No, I'm angry, fam. I'm angry. I'm actually angry. I'm actually angry.
I'm gonna cry.
Dammy's convinced I was lied to at birth. He thinks I was lying. He thinks I was lied to at birth. Oh, you've done it again.
Oh, see what you mean, fam.
Oh, say so.
Beloved, this is the Culture and Camaraderie podcast, the most.
Oh my gosh, we are not starting again.
Introspective, industrious, creative discussion with Camaraderie. If you're hearing us on Crystal Clear Audio Clarity, shout out Lax Error on all your socials.
Boom. Yeah, we're not starting again.
What were you saying, fam?
Oh my god.
You should have continued, fam. Yo.
My point being.
Oh, fam, I need to.
No, we're almost done anyway. We're almost done. We've got 5 minutes.
Good.
My point was being. I've even forgot what I was talking about.
No, you're talking about like this hesitation, this guilt.
Nah, you're a prick. You're actual prick. Of white men.
Did I flop it again?
Just don't touch it. Just don't touch it.
Fam.
Anyway, I'm gonna finish my point. Okay. When I'm making things. Do you know? I don't even want to talk about it. I'm over it. I'm over it. No, I'm over it.
Talk about it. I'm here.
All right.
When you're making things, like there's this little type of of doing your own thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Doing your own thing.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Like just
Bruh.
like
Okay,
creating,
tell me
and I
about
don't even know why. I haven't really unpacked it so far yet.
Listen, like we all started the same way, like drawing
It's
Dragon
so
Ball
funny.
Z characters.
Yeah,
So,
it's
like,
just-
what happened in that middle.
It's so
between
funny.
Drawing Dragon Ball Z characters and now where you're actually trying to be a
But-
professional
But that's
artist.
what I mean. I don't know if it is part of it, that being that professional thing of,
Or
because
trying to say you're a professional, acting a professional, and this is what the professional.
yeah. There's I don't know.
Because-
There's something there, and it's like, because it got to the point where I felt like I needed to do things. If I'd feel guilty not making a beat, sitting down making a beat, or about to start laughing again.
No.
Right,
I think my belly's hurting. Fam.
yeah.
The way I was laughing, fam.
Right.
No, you have to finish this, fam. Yeah. Come
There
on.
was, like, I felt bad about not making a beat at one point, and then
What do you mean by not making a beat? Making a beat like something, or the fact
No,
that
no,
you
no, no,
didn't
no,
wanna make
no.
a beat, but you felt like making a beat? 'Cause I feel guilty all the time not writing or drawing.
yeah, but it was like, and it's so weird
Like,
because
I remember. Sorry, I remember when I used to go out, or whenever I used to be out, or whenever I used to just do things that aren't. Like
bit-
whenever
yeah,
I used to watch TV
that's it.
shows, and
You'd
I'd
be like, what am I? Yeah, I need
I'm
to.
not drawing.
But that's not that. That's what I mean, because that's what I'm talking about, the bigger picture thing, and that's why I'm in this process of actually slowing down, and just trying to get back in pocket. You know what I mean? Back in my bag of.
Okay,
I operate and I move and I do things in life because, not because of the feeling of wanting to, because this is the problem, and I think this is a big problem in the world today. I really am convinced is that how much we operate on how we feel or don't feel, because that's not necessary.
The problem of how we operating on feeling.
Yeah, I do, because I think it's more than that, because if we just purely operate on how we felt about things, on emotions that come and go, we would constantly stop and start things. And I think I'm very much a testament to that.
To be fair,
Like,
I don't operate on, like, my feelings have nothing to do with any result or anything. Like, how I felt about this book, and when I said I didn't want to release it and all that, like, that didn't matter. I needed to do it.
Yeah.
And that was the point. It was like, you have to do it. You have to release it, because this is the result of what you felt, or what you did, or what was part of something that you knew had to happen. Like, because first of all, the way that I felt the way I felt in the hospital was horrible. Like PTSD type shit. So I had to write about it, and not just write about it on an emotional tip where I'm just like throwing my thoughts on paper. It was like, it's structured, it's got a story to it, there's a beginning and there's an end. So there's this whole theme that goes through it, and there's actually a story arc as part of it. So outside of my feelings, there are even things that I had to remove from the book to make sure that it stayed congruent with the whole thing, or else I'd be just scrambling throughout the whole thing. And that's not the way that I like to do things. Like, big part of my artistry, like I told Shamani this
Shamani
this 2 days ago. It was
Shout out Shamani.
It's like creating a building around a storm. Like, that's a big part of what I do. Is like, there needs to be a real structure around this whole thing that just moves and feels and thinks, and like, yeah, there has to be a structure of it living. So and this is big part of what I call something that I'm not going to release today, but there's a understanding whereby there's part of those 5 fingers. There's the ethics, the principles, the philosophy, and the other two that I forget consistently. But yeah, it's like it's character and the other one. But yeah, on a general tip, it's like whatever you do, because you're a transmedia storyteller. It's like whatever medium you use, I feel it doesn't matter at this point, because just plain and simply by the way that we were taught, it's like whatever medium we're using, it doesn't matter. Like literally, the whole world that you can be creating could be a comic book series, and that could also have music that goes along with it, and that could also have a movie that goes along with it that can be scored in a certain type of way. That's like you hear what I'm saying. So it's like, or it could be a series of pictures, and like a series of 5-10 pictures, and like you release it like, or 100 pictures even, and you release 5 every single year for the next 10 years or something. So it's like, however we do it, it doesn't matter. It's like the reason we're doing it. Ooh, start with why. That's funny. But yeah, it's like, it's literally the reason we're doing it. So like, what do you want the world to know, or what do you want to say to the world? Which is a big part of why I do a lot of what I do, and why a lot of people can't say anything of what I'm doing, because literally you are the only person, and my dad being the other person, like my dad can't really speak about art, but it's like one of those things that he knows what I want to put outside into the world. So he has thoughts and feelings about how I go about doing that, and I'm open to those thoughts, because really and truly the how doesn't really matter. It's like, as long as the thought is executed in a certain type of way, and that's a part of big elite execution, and what's the other one?
High performance.
Yeah, high performance. That's the one. Hey.
But yeah, but I guess
you can find that on my website.
The reason I'm even saying that is because
being an elite level producer and high performer. Yeah.
Even the point I was making at the beginning, that's why I think the time is important.
The time we're living in,
the time of slowing down, time in general, like, because you can't put a limit on how you can have a goal and you can aim to create something, but you need to give yourself the time, because you have to do things, you have to execute on things. That goes without saying. But when you're in the bubble of the creation of something, you need the time and space to push an idea, take something away, strip it completely, because you might have times where actually the answer is to strip it back down to the core and build it back up in a different direction. And that's why the time is so important, because
I feel like having a world that relies on its own time, because to me time is like,
because it's going to always be building itself. It's
like,
well, you have to make it like that. You can't you need to make it like that. You can't expect it to be. That's what I'm saying. Like, and the only way you can do that, the way you control time, is by slowing down. Is by pulling back from this imaginary race that you're a part of. There was a quote that I heard from Patrice O'Neill. He said, but he was talking about girls, but he transmedia storytelling. Let me tell you, no, but he was saying, when you're like in a situation, the way to win the game is by not playing the game at all. Right.
That's like
and
one of my founding principles.
That is like, exactly what I'm talking about. Why time is arbitrary.
I'm going to see what I'm saying. It is arbitrary.
It's arbitrary. Time's arbitrary. And it's like, only you can figure that out. You have to not listen. You have to cut off your ears for a bit. It's all conscious, because it's like, even when you say things like that, it's not black and white with that. It's not black and white necessarily, because you can't not listen to nobody forever. Everyone has mentors. Everyone has people that they can gain knowledge from, that you can mold to your own experience in your own life, and model what it is you're doing off of.
I'll listen to anyone, but it's like,
You're not going to use
have
everything
to,
everyone
yeah.
says. Exactly. But to get to that point, you need to slow down because you need to know what knowledge is going to be useful to you and what's not.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
It took, like, being extremely honest,
Mm.
it took me 4 years to release one book. And that's part of a whole legion of things that happened.
Mhm.
From wanting to do scripts, from wanting to do movies, and well, actually, I wrote scripts for movies and TV shows. If you want to see that, you know, if anybody important is listening, to wanting to do music videos and all of the things that I know how to do with my skill set, because of how my skill set is like situated. It's like all of the things. These are all of the things that I know how to do, and because now, like, I just really needed to release something. Or well, when you get to the point, you know that you're ready to release something. It's like, okay, so this is my level today. I've done this with my highest skill, at my highest performance, and with time being my bitch, and all of these other things, and like listening to myself and making sure that this is all of myself, like this is my level today. And then that's a stamp in time. Like, you stamp that in space and time. And that is part of what artists do. It's like when you're really doing from yourself, when you're really pulling from the infinite substance and projecting into reality, it's like you are forever cementing that moment in time. And then you can move on, or you can expound on that story and all of these other things.
Exactly.
And like, when people think, oh, fashion, tech, writing, like, they're all different things, to me they're just one thing. Like, it's like, and writing movies and writing books, it's like all of that is one thing, part of one world, but it just happens to come from one man. And because it's art, it's like, I don't think about it as the mediums. It's like the mediums are also your plaything, just as time is your plaything. And because you're running on your own drum and like your own beat, it's like you have your own philosophy and principles and ethics that you live by. So everything that you're doing is from you, so it works by you and through you. Yeah.
That's true. And that's why as the conversations on the podcast evolve, like, I know what stuff I want to get into. I want to get more into this world that I'm creating, and I want to be able to talk about it and feel confident in where it's at. And like, for now, like, that's why, like, I've kind of admitted to myself, and it's something I was even I had difficulty in wanting to admit, that I'm not that I'm stopping creating, because I'm always going to create, but right now it's about slowing down, making sense of what I'm currently doing and the ideas that I'm having, and having a plan, like an actual plan. And I need to slow down to do that. I need to slow down. I need to say no. That needs to be my greatest weapon right now. And I need to be able to just completely slow down and build the vision and implement everything piece by piece. Yeah. And that is the only way that anything's going to work. Otherwise, I'm forever going to be
a beast of the time.
Yeah, and just disappoint in not just other people but myself, you know, with the things that I want to do and not really complete them in the way that I want to. And I think it's just time to stop doing that, because it's was it you that I had the conversation about synergy with? Yeah. I think it was. We had that conversation. Conversation. Yeah. Well, it came from. It's like everything can be so synergistic. If I think that's how it becomes synergistic, is when you've got a plan. That is how it almost. It's not that everything's always going to be rosy and dandy, but it's like when you know what you want, it's like other people are looking for other people that know what they want. At the end of the day, isn't it? That's who people want to be around. And it's like, even though it's not about other people, you need other people to work alongside to build and create whatever it is you want to create. And the more understanding you have of what you're doing, it's like the more you're going to be connected with people who can help these things come to play. And that's what I mean. It's like, I like talking about things like this, but like I can't wait till, you know, as this podcast evolves and as our conversations are evolving, we're going more into the actual processes of how these things as the trajectory of our conversations, our careers sort of like are coming more closer together in the sort of paths and journeys that we're on, you know. It's gonna be cool how that evolves. Like,
yeah, fam. End of the episode.
Boom.
Yes. Thank you for listening to this roller coaster of a cast.
Episode, yeah. Take 2.5. 2 and 2
halves. Oh, fam. A tale of two halves. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Oh, well, actually, Instagram and YouTube at Camaraderie Pod on Instagram and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And Culture and Camaraderie on YouTube. We've got bare videos up now, which is amazing. I love that so much. And what's the other thing?
Content.
My socials, NYTypical and LAX_ERA.
Yep.
Follow it up. NYTypical. You can find my book at Melancholy Maelstrom, A Diary of Silver Linings. On all your platforms, you can even ask a bookstore to bring it in, and they'll buy a bunch, if enough people ask. So that's amazing. This has been peace, blessings, and salutations. This has been an episode of Culture and Camaraderie Podcast.
Episode 14.
14, man.